You ready? Okay. I will now call the Estacada City Council to order. First I have roll call or pledge of allegiance. Sorry. I'm confused.
Been a long night.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can I have roll call, please?
Here.
Councilor McCullough,
Here.
Councilor Metcalf.
Here.
Councilor Prokop,
Here.
Councilor Strobel,
Here.
Councilor Tenbush,
Here.
Mayor Jim Flynn.
Here, thank you very much for that. Before we get started here, I want to thank Councillor Hughes for taking over for me when I was very, very sick. She did a great job and I appreciate everything she does. So I want to just get that out of the way right off the bat. First on our list, we have a guest presentation from Ryan Carpenter on the school bond.
Well, on the agenda was Superintendent Carpenter, but Board Chair Ken Rydell gets a microphone first. So thanks for having us tonight. Excited to be here, and we'll run through a few slides here. Talking close, so
We're getting a back feed there. Is there a reason?
how about now? Okay,
Yeah, just kick back.
perfect. I'll just
Moisturous voice of yours.
I'll lean back this way, or I'll talk really loud like this. It's fine. Either way, just let me know if you can't hear me. So got a few slides to talk through right now. I'll go back and forth here and really want to create some time and leave some time for you all to ask some questions. So we'll jump right into the slides. So when we move forward one slide. So really there's three threats. And if anybody's been paying attention or hearing what the district's been saying, these have been pretty consistent over some period of time. But the three big pressing threats that we have from a school district standpoint is aging facilities, growth and capacity, and then the competitive opportunities that those aging facilities and the capacity impacts our students and what competitive opportunities they have when they leave the school district and enter the workforce or higher education, either direction that they choose. So if we go to the next slide. So what a bond would do. And of course, there's a lot of sub bullets that could belong in all of these areas. But just to give you an idea, it would build a new Estacada High School, establish a new junior high school, transform Estacada Middle School into a third elementary, improve student safety and complete essential repairs, install climate control and air conditioning at all schools, and expand and establish extracurricular and community space. So again, a lot of stuff inside of each one of these categories, but these are those big bullet points that this bond would accomplish in its time.
So I just want to start by also thanking the city council for allowing us to come back and just providing an update on behalf of the schools. And so as Chair Rydell just communicated with you, really the crux of the bond, which is to address the three main threats that we're all experiencing inside the Estacada community, but also how this bond will not only fix the things today, but set us up for the next 30 years as we try to really be innovative in what our community looks like. Beyond just the threats of today. So we are going for a bond. Effectively last month, the school board voted unanimously to place the bond on the May ballot. We are very excited about that. And our conversations now have touched thousands of Estacadians and Eagle Creekites and Georgians and people from Springwater and so many other folks from around the great 750 square mile school district of Estacada. So how we're doing, we hired a third-party company to do several polling events now, just like you see on TV or on the news. And as of today, our $149 million bond package is winning. We're winning 55% in favor or support, with 39% in opposition or voting no. If you've been in this community for many years, you'll know that this is a magnificent feat. This is not a 55 plus community, if you know what I mean, in terms of support for raising taxes. And so the fact that we are in this space right now is very exciting for our school district. And we're so appreciative of a community who's willing to listen, to critically think, and then work through their own processes to see if this is something, an investment that they could support. One of the frequently asked questions that we've received is $149 million is awful expensive. How did you come to that number? Why don't we just fix what's broken? Or why don't we just build a new elementary school instead of a new high school? And so we have some polling data and analytics to show you that by and large, the Estacada community supported the most expensive bond to fix everything now and once. This isn't something where we just put the Band-Aid on it for $30 million now, and then 10 years later we're asking, and then 5 years later we're asking in order to chip away at all of this. The community has been resoundingly telling us that they will support this bond if we fix it now and then leave them alone again for the next 30 years. And so our bond is reflective of that voice in that package.
And I think another point to that, Ryan, thank you for the numbers is, how did we come up with this number? The first number that we got as a school board, just so everybody's clear, was $350 million. That was the first number. So I think people in their minds sometimes think, gosh, we decided to do this. How much is it going to cost? Oh, great, let's do that. How much is it going to cost? That's not going to work. So then how do we start making changes to what we can do to still deliver what the community needs, but at a price point that the community can afford? And so a lot of that is why the location for the new high school is on the existing part of that building, right? We're going to demo some of that. I don't want to get into too many details, but that was significantly cheaper than using the back 20 acres and building fresh. That saved us over $100 million, just that decision alone. And so it's really important for me as the board chair for the community to understand is that we didn't just go ask how much it's going to cost, and then that's what we're going to ask for. We ask what it's going to cost, then we start the real work of getting that to a price point and a number that we believe this community can support. And what they're telling us is that they will support it. And that's what's exciting. So when we look at what Estacada School District looks like coming forward. So based on where we are right now, 12% more students now than we had 5 years ago. And that's a big number, as you guys know, when you look at city growth. 22% more growth expected over the next 10 years. And River Mill Elementary is 37% larger when it comes to number of students, 37% larger than the average Oregon elementary school. And I will tell you, River Mill Elementary is not 37% bigger than the average elementary school building in the state of Oregon. I think we can all agree on that. So there's just some stats on the growth and capacity. If we move forward to the next slide, aging facilities, as we talk about in the funding cap, 60 years or older is the average age of the school buildings in our school district, over 60 years old. So if you think about if you live in a house that's more than 60 years old, there's probably a lot of work that needs to be done to even just get it to operate effectively. That's a big part of it. Over $20 million in school repairs and updates are needed right now. Again, back to the home, your own personal home. First 10, 12 years, not a lot of maintenance that needs to be done, hopefully. Right? You hit that 15, 17, 20 year mark a lot, right? You've got appliances, you've got HVAC, you've got all those things that are failing, roofs are failing. And so when we look at this, isn't just stuff that we didn't do. These are actual repairs of systems and processes within the buildings that have to be repaired due to their age. Just so you know, 1% of the district budget goes to facilities. The rest goes to teaching and learning for our students, because that's why we're there. The facilities simply allow us to do that. And when we look at $400,000, everybody talks about, man, all these houses are going in. You're getting millions and millions of dollars this new tax revenue. $400,000 received from new build residential or new build taxes in the last year. So when you think about a need of $149 million, that $400,000 in a year, it's going to take us a long time, because that was the question. Why don't we just save up and build? Cool. By the time we get to 149 million, now it's going to cost us 400 million to build that same building based on what construction costs are going for. So, and then if we move forward to the next slide, I think I'm going back to Superintendent Carpenter.
And this is really our last slide because we wanted to just open up dialogue, but we felt it necessary and prudent to give the city council just an update of where we're at as of today. And the good news is we had said earlier that $149 million bond was ultimately going to cost $3.55 in order to fund that. What's cool, although I guess some would argue it's not, is that our growth, even from that October, when we got that first initial number to today, it has actually decreased because so many new people have become a taxpayer person inside our school district that it is already down to $3.16. So we've seen a significant reduction in what we thought it was going to cost to do that. And then, of course, it's also to our advantage. And this will be the only time I'll say it's to our advantage that there's a presidential election coming up, because we're seeing the interest rates decrease. As everyone tries to say that the world is doing better. And so this is going to be to our advantage, that if we are successful in this bond, we're going to be able to sell our bond at a lower interest rate, which is ultimately going to allow us to maximize that as well. So the assessed value of a $200,000 home is going to cost the average taxpayer $34 additional a month. Now, 200,000, I need to be clear that that's the assessed value, not the market value. I'm sure a lot of people come to you as they do to me and they say, there's not a $200,000 home in this community. And the answer is that's correct. There is not a $200,000 home, but that's not market value. It's what the county assesses all taxes over. And we're around in Estacada around $200,000 being in that median range. And so this is just a good thing for people to note, that for $34 additional per month, we can support our local school system for the next 30 years. And again, our bond expires in 2025. So the $1.16 that we're paying now, that was passed at $2.14, so it's down $1 over the course of its life. We anticipate that it will also reduce over the course of this bond's life to be something much smaller. And that. So that is kind of the update. We have a very motivated political action committee, some of whom are in the audience this evening, who are motivated and excited to begin engaging our community. What this 55% support tells us is if we can just motivate Estacada School District's parents and people under the age of 50, we're going to have a successful election evening. And so our PAC is very focused and committed to really engaging and motivating our families to show up and vote on May, which should ultimately lead to a new investment in Estacada, its children, and its schools. And so I want to just kind of pause to allow the city council to ask questions. Please be tough on us. We know you hear a lot of opinions as well, and we would love to support each other as we work through these challenging times and changing times in our community.
Okay, Mike.
I think I remember the new capacity for the capacity for the new high school is around 1,100 students.
That's
that
correct.
correct?
Yep.
Do you know what the largest, I know the elementary schools are bursting at the seams. So what I'm trying to get at is the largest 4-year group that's coming through the elementary class, when that gets into the high school in 10 years with a 27% increase, is the capacity of the new high school big enough to house all those students?
That's a fantastic question. And the answer to that is yes. So right now, Estacada High School is at 531 kids today. The largest block 4-year group that you're talking about is right now currently first grade through 4th grade. And once that group of students goes into the high school, will be a high school of 811 kids. So you'll see pretty significant growth that will put us at about 75% capacity. We do anticipate more growth beyond that, but
Is that with the adjustment for the 27%?
no, it is not with that adjustment. Am I saying
So
that right?
that's without growth. So that's without the
Oh,
growth in.
I'm sorry, that is with the adjustment. Yes, that's counting the 27%, but the actual bodies in our school now, projection or not, once that group of kids gets to the high school, that's when we'll start to tip over 800 kids. And they're here now.
The 800 kids are in that 4-year block.
That's correct.
So we're anticipating 27%. If it were equally distributed, new kids came in, it would be 27% more than that,
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
which would put us just almost at capacity.
Yeah, it would be right in there, but what the calculation is the kindergartners that are going to come in every year over the course of the next 10 years is where that prediction comes from. And so, yes, I would say that they're saying 10 years from now, we're supposed to be at over 800, but there is no 20 and 30-year configurations in that. And I do anticipate that we'll continue to grow and increase. The good news is with this bond, we're set up to handle that capacity by creating a 120,000 square foot 2-story building, which allows us to house 1,100 kids, but we're still attached to the middle school, and we plan to bring the 7th and 8th graders over to the remaining half of the high school and create that 3rd elementary school. But because we're not demolishing the other half of the high school, does give us the ability to add on, adjust to, and make adjustments based on that without completely building from new, which is what our taxpayers have been very clear to tell us, that we need to find a way to be as cost efficient as possible.
One follow-up real quick to that, what you're saying, and I apologize. If we get to a point where we're at capacity at the high school level and we're built next to the existing school, is the option to pull in a percentage of 9th graders or the whole 9th grade class into the middle school, maybe a 7th through 9th and a K through 6, since we're going to have 3 elementary schools, to reduce the burden on the new high school if it starts bursting? That seems,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of ways to avoid portables.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we try to avoid portables at all costs too, which, by the way, there are 4 at River Mill Elementary School right now. Because of the growth. But to answer that question, that would be a community conversation. There's a lot of data around having a 9th grade campus. The North Clackamas School District used to have a 9th grade campus. And so there's a lot of data and research around that. It would be my priority to keep the high school and its culture as a whole and preserve that. And so I think there would be a different way to be creative as to how we break up elementary and middle school in order to do some capacity things. And the truth of the matter is, we talk about River Mill being larger considerably. There's 500 kids at River Mill Elementary and 490 at Clackamas River right now. So there are only 20 kids lower than our high school like today in those areas. And the thing that's interesting is the average elementary school size in North America is 355 kids. And so even when we make that 3rd elementary school that we need so badly, that's actually going to put all 3 elementaries at average. And so with room to grow, but it's not like there's going to be, this vacant 3rd elementary school. We will already be average as we break that out.
Thank you.
Okay.
I know you've addressed this in the past, but this is more, so I've heard the answer, but this is more just for the community members that are here and watching online. There was some concern, like, where did this $149 million come from? I don't see blueprints. How are they getting this number? That sort of thing. So, could you guys speak to that? Have you spoken to engineers and where you got those numbers, just so the community has an idea?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you asked the question, because we get that a lot, right? This seems like just a number that you threw a dart at a board. And I addressed it a little bit in the presentation, right? Because the first number wasn't 149, it was 350. Excuse me. And so when I just lost my train of thought. Blueprints. Thank you. Gosh, man, I tell you. And so we absolutely have, we've connected with engineers, and really what we got down to was there's a price per square foot that is used. So we use that. Then there's also those other costs of developing new ground. So when we talk about moving it from that back 20 in, it was a huge savings because you don't have that additional engineering and earthwork and all of that stuff that you need to add to it. But it really comes down to, what is the price per square foot to build a new school? And that's what we're using from a dollar amount to get to that 149, and then adjusting in that as well. You get some numbers for air conditioning. Well, are those really padded numbers? Are those realistic numbers? And so that was part of that other work that we spent an enormous amount of time digging into. What's that realistically, as we talk to people that are in the industry experts, people that do this every day. We feel like this is a good, strong number that gives us the room that we're going to need, because it's going to take a few years to do this, but without just overestimating, to make sure that we can do extra stuff at the end.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, right, Jerry.
So my question's kind of a two-parter. How many more jobs is this going to create? in the high school. And the second part of my question is hopefully we're not taking a, if we build it, they will come aspect. Hopefully there's a plan in place for recruiting of, to get the top quality. I know you guys do an amazing job of getting, top quality people, teaching our kids, but hopefully there's a plan in place for that. But, saying this bond pass, I would want this, us to have that in place. End of construction, open school, we've got full staff.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So first of all, there's many factors to how many jobs is the question. So again, if successful in a bond campaign, the Estacada School District will be embarking in a multi-million-dollar major construction. And so not only will we prioritize a fair bidding process and to try to hire as local as we possibly can, that still meets our scope and our high expectations of what a building should look like. The city, restaurant owners, local business owners, everybody is going to be experiencing the boondoggle of so many construction companies coming into our community to eat lunch, build a high school, and fill their gas tanks up as they leave. And so the economic impact of just this proposal is going to be significant to our community. But secondly, when it comes to local, like internal Estacada School District jobs, we're going to continue to hire based on our student population. So we get paid based on each child that comes into it. And so that's how we fund our models. And so we're not going to hire, for example, 5 extra science teachers in anticipation for people to come. We're going to continue to staff on a 30 kid to 1 teacher ratio. And so as the growth continues, you'll see our escalation of employees to meet and match those specific demands.
And if I can really quick, the other part too is because the new high school basically just maintains what it has now. It's just in the new space, right? The new junior high goes from 6 through 8 to 7 and 8. So some of those 6th grade teachers will then be redistributed. And when you look at the other 2 elementary, splitting that between a 3rd building, the vast majority of that is just going to be moving teachers that are teaching those kids in this building, and they're now teaching them in this building. So it's not, we don't have to like, oh my gosh, we have a whole new elementary school. We got to hire all new teachers, because we don't have a whole new elementary school worth of kids here that we need to address. It is just really shuffling those shuffling those students and teachers from one building to another. And so, but there are some positions, there may be some additional custodian positions that need to be hired, some food service positions that need to be hired, potentially an admin, right, that needs to be hired. But it's not that idea of we're building a whole new school and we have to staff a whole new school, because that's not how it works. But great question.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have one that's not
Go
really
ahead.
bond, I mean, it's not bond related, but it's something that Counselor McElroy and I have talked, we've talked about with council, but just looking at maybe a collaborative process with maybe some members of the city council working with the school district, just to bring I made my little notes here. Just seeing the kids when they graduate, they don't really know how local government works. And we would really like to, I know I personally would, Michael's expressed, he's been interested in doing this, just coming in and helping educate these kids how local government works and get them interested and excited into, when they graduate, getting involved in their civic duties. So if there's a way that maybe we could, and I know it's not school bond related, but just to maybe put that out there, that we could maybe partner with you guys and how best to do that with you and the proper
Sure.
channel. So, yeah.
Oh, we very much appreciate that. And we also are trying to engage our community, and particularly students who, want to learn more about a governmental experience and what campaigns look like. And our PAC, I know, will address that as well. And matter of fact, I plan to speak with our student council next week in order to start motivating and talking with our students about what this bond would do. Because I think the community needs to hear from our kids as well, and what they're experiencing, and their 1960s facilities, and that piece of it. And if I could just respond to your question as well in terms of why not the blueprint. And I know you are experiencing this all as well with the wastewater treatment plant and what it might looks like. And we have found in a couple failed bond campaigns that people get stuck on the color of the brick, and they get stuck on which office goes where and what that blueprint looks like. And it turns people into no voters, particularly because they just didn't like the feng shui of what something looked like. And so what we're trying to do, and actually on the packet that you have, and the listeners can also go to our website to learn more, we at least have a conceptual design of what we think a two-story high school will look like. It may look something completely different than what this looks like, but we just want people to understand what a humble two-story high school will look like. And to engineer that costs millions of dollars. And we're trying to be very frugal and honor the taxpayers' wishes to keep this as frugal as possible. And so this is another reason why we're not doing blueprints, because we can fight over the color of the building later.
Thank you.
Hey, Jay.
Again, not bond related. Just my first opportunity to ask you since I don't really have a lot of contact with you lately.
Which I miss, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, our downtown Estacada Commission has basically there's going to be language written in their code that they can promote all events inside Estacada, and all of our committees, and well, the majority of our committees and commissions, they want to be able to get information into the schools, because we have events. Arts Commission does Arts at the Creek. Downtown Estacada Commission does the 4th of July parade. We want to be able to get information into the schools, and every committee has come up against, I don't know if it's roadblocks or what, but it's just like they haven't been able to find an in. So I'm just letting you know, the newest member of the Downtown Estacada Commission, Heather Randall, is already in at the schools. She's already involved.
We know Heather.
She will be, probably reaching out to, to try to get that in, because we don't want you guys to be bombarded with every single city committee and commission. So we're gonna try to get it to all run through the Downtown Estacada Commission, to where they will be presenting you with the information that the city the city events that are going out. So just giving you the heads up, that's probably going to be the route once the language is created in our city code.
Great. That sounds great. And we'd love to partner with Heather. And obviously as you can imagine, people bombard us daily to get things in front of children.
Yeah.
And so obviously how we work through the policies of what that looks like is obviously something that we take very seriously. And it's probably why you're experiencing some of those checkpoints along the way, because we need to protect our children. And
absolutely,
you'd be amazed at what we're being asked to share in front of kids. And so I would encourage you or anybody else to just contact our communications department, and we'll work through you on that. And if I could just close, I happened to attend your town hall meeting at the Estacada Middle School auditorium. And on behalf of the district, we just wanted to praise you as elected officials for being willing and vulnerable to stand in front of our community and really have a great conversation that was transparent and candid. And I just wanted to commend you on that, because the only way that we can work through this transformational time in Estacada is to be front and center, and the school district takes that very seriously. And it's great to see city council. And I just wanted you to know that I too am pro growth, like you talked about, but my pro growth is different, because I think that if we're building a great school district and a thriving community, which the two of us are committed to doing together, then an indicator of a thriving community and a thriving school district is kids who graduate from here choose to return home to raise their children in this community. That's the sign of health. And so I want it to be known that the school district is always for our children coming back home and raising their children, and that creates growth. We are pro-growth.
All right, Jonathan, you had a question.
Yeah, first, thank you for your presentation. You're always organized, and I've got deep respect for your professionalism and income, so thank you for that. You mentioned a PAC, and I'm aware of this PAC. Somebody's reached out to me and kind of briefly filled me in that it's coming. Do you have a representative here that can maybe tell the council what they're gonna be doing so that, one, we're aware when we start to get our email inboxes bombarded by it? And then two, for those of us that would like to choose to support you guys going forward publicly or whatnot, how could we do that? And then thirdly, the last thing I'll say is, as exciting as this is to see our community grow and this for our kids, and I am personally for this. I do publicly want to say that I do feel for the fixed income people. I don't want them to feel
Yep.
like that this is a complete just dismissal. That's not at all my heart in this. I do sincerely feel for that, but I believe in trying to do what's right for our kids. So is there a member of the PAC that could tell us what we could expect?
Yeah, so I'm joined this evening by Ryan Austin. I need to make it clear, though, that Ryan and his team, which is a part of the Political Action Committee, are an independent voice for motivated people in support of this bond. My role as the superintendent is just to communicate the facts of the bonds to our entire community. Ryan and his team are the arm, which is independent of the school district, that are motivated to make this successful.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Austin. I am the chair of the PAC, the Political Action Committee. We are Yes for Estacada Schools. So you will probably start to see some direct mailers hitting your mailboxes. There's a banner going up above Broadway Street. We've got some tabling that's going to be happening at local events and yard signs and banners and things like that. So we have a committed group of people that are going to be reaching out to our community members to answer questions, to help people register to vote, to make sure that people understand the facts of what they're voting for. We get the same questions that everybody else does. We try to answer them in a very factual way that gives people the information that they're looking for. We do have the ability to push the yes vote that the school board does not, or that the school district does not, and that's what we're doing. So we have a website, we have some advertising campaigns, we have a very good core group of people that are committed to helping this bond pass. So yes, sir.
Are you guys adequately staffed up
We
with
do.
volunteers, or
We do have a pretty good group of volunteers, but we can always use more.
how does people from the community find out about how to get involved with volunteering with the PAC?
So there is a direct mailer that's going out to every home and PO box in the 97022 and 023 zip code in the school district. Our website is yesforestacada.com. There's volunteer sign up form on there. There's a lot of information on there about the bond, about frequently asked questions, about where the money comes from, where the money goes, and just some of the things that people want to know. And there's a lot of different ways to get involved on there and also to donate.
Great.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
we would love to get an argument in favor to put into the county voters pamphlet from the city council.
And that's where we're going next.
So
So speaking to that, obviously the city staff can't be a part of that, but the council can. And I think everybody at this table, from what I'm understanding, is 100% for this. So I would like to, as a mayor, through the council, endorse the bond measure going forward, if that's okay with you.
yeah, wonderful. Thank you very much.
All right,
We'll,
no,
we'll
we
reach
appreciate it.
out with
And
some-
I gotta say,
things
watching
we
you
need
guys tonight was
decide.
like a WWF tag team kind of thing. The way you two were hitting it back and forth, I mean, there's no chance. I was so excited. I was ready.
Yeah, you
So
bet.
thank
We've
you.
got a good team. Again, it's a good investment for our community and its future. And yeah, thank you.
Well, it's about time.
And thank you for your transparency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to finish off that.
Jerry, did you have something you want to add?
Well, I'm not a creative writer, but if somebody wants to write up a argument in favor, I'm sure we'd all be happy to
Yes, please.
sign that. So.
All right. Yeah. Yep. It's a community effort and it will take us all, because this is not a community that passes bonds and levies lightly.
No, well, if you're like me and you're about to retire, it's a very scary thing when that hits
Yes.
your bottom line.
Yep. Yes,
You know, with everything coming down the pike, the way it is in the economy, it's a worrisome thing. But we can't keep saying no. Every time I see that school, and I've been in it over the years, it's worse for wear. It needs to happen.
Amen.
Jerry.
So it just popped into my brain just looking, because I looked at the rendering. So there are some pretty significant cultural sites at Estacada High School. And I'm hoping that during this remodel
Yes.
or this rebuild, there will be steps taken to preserve these, like, of course, the wrestling room, the stuff out in the front of the high school, the memorials. Hopefully that this construction project will preserve, those sites, because they do mean a lot. They do mean a lot to a lot of members of this community. So like I said, I hope that there's some preservation.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And there's an enormous amount of thought already going into it. So as many of you may know, we had an old oak tree. Don't recall how old it is or was at this point in time. 250 years is the number I'm being told. But it needed to come down. It just had to come down. And so we took that down in a way that was safe. But now we also have the opportunity to repurpose a lot of that wood within the facility. So the plan is how do we incorporate that into the new building? How do we bring some of that Estacada legacy back? So yeah, there's no desire to eliminate some of those things. The wrestling room specifically, since you brought it up, it's on the other end of the areas. But I can tell you from my core group and my community, essentially tearing down the whole music wing is a big deal, because it's one of the better facilities that a high school has in the entire state. And so those are conversations I have a lot of. That is important. And so we know what's important, or we have an idea of what's important. We will continue to listen to what's important. And that's another reason why we don't have blueprints and all of those things, right? Because there's so many steps between saying putting it on the ballot, getting it approved, and now the really heavy lifting starts of what does it look like, what does it feel like, and where does everything go? So, but duly noted, and we hear that a lot, and we absolutely agree.
Thank you.
Great.
Mr. Carpenter, one of the questions I've been asked a few times is people have a distrust for government bonds for whatever reason, and they want to know what happens. They say, well, it's just going to run up to 200 million by the time they build it. Once the bond is passed for the proposed amount, can that be adjusted up if the price bill or the cost of the construction goes up after the design is finalized and everything like that?
Yeah, so the answer to that is no. And so $149 million is the ceiling, and we cannot exceed that. We could spend less than that if things turn out to be less than that. We've had 3 different now giant construction firms who do school bonds for a living. And so what they've done in this price per square foot that Chair Rydell talked about, it actually builds in the cost escalations of what they predict the next 5 years will be. And so inside that price per square foot, which is $990 a square foot or something of that nature, that includes the soft cost, the price escalations, materials, all of the above contingencies inside of that, ultimately leading to our $149 million bond. We wanted to make sure, because there is such distrust in public organizations using taxpayer funds, that whatever we put on this thing, we wanted to make sure that we fulfilled our promise that we could do that. Where we see Portland Public and other school districts who exceed that cap and they have to cut things that people voted yes for in the bond. And so our price, we believe, is as true as it can get. And in fact, it's probably on the conservative high side, just to make sure we can do what we said we would do.
Is the contingency of that a line item, or is all the things that you were describing part of the contingency?
All things
The
that I was
inflation
describing was,
adjustment is
yes,
part of the contingency? Do
correct. Well,
you know what the
yes.
contingency
Yeah,
number is?
yeah,
as a
yeah.
percentage?
I do. I want to say it was like 18% or something of right in that landmark, that landmark. And of the $990 per square foot, like the companies pretty much broke down what all of that represented, which I'd be happy to share with you, because I think that is important to know.
I'd be
Yeah.
interested to take a look at it, just so I can
Yeah.
give people the answer. Thank
For
you.
sure. We'll also have a public oversight committee as well. And so if we are successful in this bond campaign, we'll make sure to have a diverse representative of every pocket of our community who oversees the expenditure of each dollar to ensure that we're doing what we said we would do. We know in the 2000 successful bond campaign, there's still a lot of remembrance of things that didn't go the way that they thought it was going to go. And that's really hurting us as we're trying to go back out for this. And so as we work through building the trust of our community to support this investment, it's going to be very critical for us that we do a 5 out of 5-star job and really being transparent and communicative about how each dollar is being spent towards what we promised it would go towards.
Thank you.
And just to add to that too, is transparency. I think anybody that's been around the school district in the last 4 or 5 years has seen a dramatic improvement in the transparency and the communication. So that community oversight or the oversight committee is going to be paramount to that. But also if a community member or anybody has a question, then ask your question, right? Because that's a lot of what creates this. I'm not sure what's going on. I have a question. I don't answer or I don't ask the question to somebody that actually should be able to answer it. And now I either make my own assumption or somebody else tells a story. And now we have something that's not accurate that is out there in the world. So what I would ask anybody in this room, listening online, or anybody in 97023 and 97022, right? You have a question, ask the question. And I know in the town hall we did, I threw my cell phone number up on the screen, right? If you got a question, give me a call. And so it's just my plea to everyone that if you have a question, make sure it's asked. And even after, if the bond does pass and we put an oversight committee in, if there's something that you're not understanding, then pick up the phone, show up, send an email. We'll get the answer, because transparency is absolutely one of the biggest priorities within the school district, so that we can continue to drive the growth and the essential functions that we need to have here for our community and for our kids. And so we're an open book, anytime, anywhere, just ask a question.
All right, Jonathan.
Melanie, can we have the chair of the PAC, Ryan, if you could get with her for those of the council that are interested in signing their support or endorse whatever letters you can, do you mind getting with Melanie so that we can get it dispersed? Absolutely.
Yeah, I can get them. I can definitely get you connected to the council.
All right, everybody in there. Go ahead, Mike.
Quick side note, just wanted to recognize Mr. Kelly at the middle school vice president. I heard that he's decided to leave the middle school, and just appreciate Mr. Kelly. Every interaction I've ever had with him, with my students, has just been amazing, and just a top-notch guy, and good luck to him wherever he's going. Yeah.
All right. Well, we thank you. You did a great job. We appreciate everything you're doing and going forward with this great plan. So we're excited. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving along, we are at citizen and community comment. Tanya Streifel.
Yeah.
It's
There we
intimidating.
go.
Oh, there it goes.
Start.
Okay, so I've posted a little bit, talked with you, Mr. Incline, about some of the community resources that I'd like to see presented and given. And I've done a little work since my last conversation with you, which was a couple weeks ago. Charity and I have been communicating as well. I'd love to see Estacada have some prioritize emergency preparation workshops and opportunities for community members to be involved and to see what gaps that they could fill in regards to communication, similar to what happened with us with the fires. And I've found some great resources in our local community, but I need some gaps filled in so that we can get things going. I have a farm friend here that owns Just Bee Farms out in Colton, and she is a master canner. And so that's just one of the priority items that I'd like to promote from the city. I'd like to find more people in our community. We have so many resources out here and so many smart people and preppers that I would love to work with and find and create classes so our community can be prepared for whatever comes. I am also talking about the bond. I'm also a returning Estacada School District graduate, not my, but my husband. So our family is all here, and I work for the school district as well. And I'm so proud to be a part of Estacada. So as a parent, I'm always thinking, what do I need to be prepared for? And with everything in our society and our city and our state, It feels as though we need to be proactive, not reactive. And I posted a video on our Estacada Locals page about Butler County, Ohio, and their sheriff. And he's being very proactive. I have reached out. I have yet to hear back. But my hope is that we can be a community that's ready for whatever comes, whether it's a natural disaster or a threat. And for our community to be comfortable that we can support each other and that we're ready for whatever.
I like that. I think that's going to be very nice. And if you could get with staff, I'm sure they could help you and direct you in the right area for how that gets started. But I think you're on the right track, and I really think everybody here is with you on this one. So,
Yes.
and Charity, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a way that community members can get a hold of you if they have something to bring to the table to offer? Do you have an email or something?
Yes,
Yeah.
I filled out for the speaking. I have my phone number on there. I haven't created like
move.
necessarily a page for, basic
Mhm.
communication, but I do have an email and I'd be happy to share that. Would you want me to say it now?
Yeah, go ahead and then, yeah, we have it.
It's Mommy Streifel, so it's MOMMIESTRIEFEL@gmail.com.
Awesome.
But I'll be posting on the community pages as well and hopefully get some events created on Facebook. I wasn't sure how the city would like to communicate that out to citizens as well, because I know not everybody has a Facebook account. So maybe, we can get those communications going as well. So, yeah.
All right, great.
We got a
Thank
great
you.
community, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Everybody's supportive. I like that. Okay, so yeah, like get with staff and then they'll help you the rest of the way with this, and then we'll see if we can get this all going. Yeah, all right, great. Thank you. All right, Tom. I'm not even gonna say your last name. You've been here so many times. If they don't know it, they need.
I know it.
Believe it or not, Mr. Mayor, Tom did not speak at the last meeting.
did
He was
not.
Really?
here. He was here.
See, somebody spotted you.
Okay. Okay, Tom McEnany. Just to add on to what Tanya was just talking about, I have addressed this body about the safety of the community several times. And now she's adding that to her, trying to get an ability to get the whole community involved in, taking care of each other. And that was been my total point all along. The fact that Lakin Riley had to give up her life to bring this to light is a shame. But let's move forward and not have any of our children end up in the same position. And I will have to say, I'm unapologetically a church-going Christian. To each his own. But anyway, my main point now is I have an Estacada address. And now we're going into election season. But I can't run for anything because I'm not a city resident, but I have an Estacada address. So how can we promote change and not allow the folks that have that Estacada address not be allowed into being able to run? Wait, I know there's council seats coming up. And if I tried to get involved in another thing, my wife would leave me. So I'm not saying this for myself, but the way I see it, it should be a point of discussion and at least review to see, if we're supposed to accept the growth and change that's coming to Estacada, those of us who live in the rural area should have more of a voice than just sitting here and flapping our gums, which I'm really good at. My wife tells me that all the time too. So anyway, if it's possible to take that up, have the folks in the office look it over, look at the charter, see what if anything can be changed within that, and allow people who would wish to run for office be available to do so. I've lived at that address for almost 50 years and haven't, and all I've done is just, like I said, flap my gums all the time. But some time ago, I would have liked to have run, but it's just not available
for me right now, but those on the outside might want to come to the inside and have that opportunity. So if that can be reviewed, that would be great.
All right, thank you, Tim. And just to answer that, Tom, it's beyond our scope as far as the city elected positions, because they're city elected positions. It goes to the state and the federal law and everything else. There's really nothing I can change there. But your committee and commissions are all based on the district and the city, so they can split them 3 and 4, 4 and 3, or however it goes. And you can serve on those with a voice, which goes right directly to us without having to sit up here and just flap on a regular basis. But that's about as much as I know on that. Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, so every city in Oregon has rules as far as who can run for office. And all of them that I'm aware of, you have to be a city elector. Elector means registered voter. So you have to be, people can register at age 18, which is why you might see an advisory student or something, but the counselors are all over the age of 18. They all reside within the city. Because people that reside within the city pay city taxes. So that's the funds that you're allocating. We do get funds from the state and from the county, but those are city taxes. And then the other one, and I think you guys have a 1-year residency requirement. So you have to be domiciled in Estacada for a year. So if someone were to move, a week before the kind of sign up date, they'd have to wait till the next cycle in order to run for office. And 1 year is fairly common. There are cities that have as much as 3. In order to run for governor, you have to have resided in the state of Oregon for 3 years prior to running. So it's a pretty common requirement. As far as being a city elector, I don't know that any jurisdiction doesn't have. There are a couple of special districts where if you own land, but you don't reside on it, then because the votes are calculated per acres owned, which is specific to like drainage districts, then people that don't reside there can vote because they own the property within the district. But as far as cities go, it's for city electors only. And we did have this issue come up 2 years ago, I believe. And so staff at that point asked me to do a little more research than I did. So yeah, that's unfortunately why that people that live in unincorporated Clackamas County can't run for Estacada City Council.
Thank you, Peter.
They can run for county commission though.
I was just gonna say
Yep.
that.
County
Yeah,
commission.
Or fire district or school districts, or if you don't have that much time, maybe the budget committee for school district or fire district would be good options too, or our planning commission that gets appointed. Yeah,
Sure.
How often do they meet in a month?
which one, the
Say plan.
planning, they meet once a month or as needed, so they might not meet every month. Right.
So just in case I don't take the sword in the back.
They have a lot of reading to do. I will say.
That's right, they do. All right, next I have Jim Moriarty. Pat, there you go.
Aw.
Yeah.
Especially Council McRoy. All right. Here we go. All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm Jim Moriarty, an Estacada resident. I'm here to discuss the City of Estacada government Facebook page. I'm here to ask the City Council, when you decided in January 2024 at your goals meeting that communicating with citizens was a priority. Unfortunately, during my discussion last week with city staff, I was informed that the city manager made the decision to remove all commenting on the Facebook page, making city government communication a one-way street. As a tax-paying citizen who pays for this Facebook page, I'm disappointed that the voice of Estacada citizens have been silenced. Here are some examples that should be posted with comments on the city Facebook page. Crimes that have occurred in Estacada. Safety's number one. Let the detectives figure it out. Post a crime that's happened. Let them delve into the page. They can monitor it. Emergency evacuation, natural disaster events. Number 3, Main Street construction. Weekly updates are great, but I'd like to see what Estacada citizens are talking about in regards to this project. Our committee, Traffic and Public Safety, worked very hard and presented a lot of information to the city council in regards to the street mock-up, PowerPoint presentations, and workshops with the city council. How can you have a goal as a council to communicate more with citizens and allow one-way communication controlled by the city staff? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, I gotta speak to this, because I was just gonna let it go, but I'm in agreement on this one, because we were just having that conversation with DI and everything else about expressing ourselves on Facebook and what is allowed and what isn't freedom of speech. I think it only fair that we open that back up to commenting. I know sometimes those comments can get out of control. I get that, and I do understand that. But at the same time, I think that's something we should definitely allow, because it is their right as citizens to speak on any issue that we have going through the city at the time. I know it takes a lot of monitoring and it's time consuming, but I just hope that we will look at that and maybe agree that that's a better way to go than shutting it down to commenting. But that said, we'll move along. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment?
Sure, Jay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, I don't know if any of us really have any experience of moderating a page, but you know, it really does. If you haven't been a moderator on a page, it really takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And honestly, if you know, I don't have a problem with opening it up, but we were just talking about trying to figure out a ways to alleviate staff from some of their burden. And honestly, I think that, you know, in order to do that, to open it up and have it, you know, done right, they would pretty much have to hire somebody to moderate that page, unless we could get one of our wonderful citizens to volunteer. But I mean, you know, just devil's advocate, I do like the fact that, or I would like to see, you know, comments open, but you just knowing what work goes into being a moderator on a page like that, it's going to be a tough job. So.
Oh, yeah, I never knew it was gonna be easy.
Is
but-
there like an AI that available for moderating?
So,
Like a bot that moderates vulgar content or something? What, I guess,
So we
what was the
can't-
reason that it got removed?
Yeah, the reason that I kind of agonized over that, because I feel like it is, you know, one-way conversation isn't a conversation. It's just one-way information now on the city Facebook page. But there was misinformation that was being posted. There were discussions that were, that seemed to be making people distressed. There were discussions about, amongst the people on the, you know, who were commenting, and then also staff doesn't respond to those comments unless there's like, you know, what time does the event start? And then if we see it, you know, we'll respond to it. But for instance, the person who was missing, the lady who was missing, and we shared that post, there was a phone number to call directly to the police. It's really misleading if people think that they can call in a crime or somebody that might be endangered, or something, you know, that needs to be taken care of on a city street, and just post that on Facebook, and expect that we'll see that, right? We might not see that ever. We might see it in a day. We might see it right away. But we really need to encourage people to use the right format to contact about information that needs to get, you know, taken care of. And I didn't feel also that the city needed to provide a platform for a few people to have a discussion that was causing, it seemed to me causing distress community-wide about topics. That you can still share this to other pages if it wants to go to, if you're on a locals page or uncensored page or whatever, so it's a wider community, you can still share these posts and discuss them. But I didn't feel it was the city's responsibility to provide a platform for people to put misinformation out. Some of that misinformation was DEQ, this is about the wastewater plant, Funny how DEQ says we have more room and then finds the city. Or a moratorium is well within the power of the city to slow down building while we fix our water plant and bring it to code. Was confusing because why wouldn't we do that if, if that's true? They were, the city could absolutely place a moratorium on building permits. And this was kind of the discussion that was going on. City staff is hired and supervised by the mayor and council. In the last 10 years, we've gone from 1,500 population to 5,000 population. That's not accurate either. The staff should not be altering public records, meeting minutes without direction under any circumstances. Posts have been deleted. It seemed like it was very non-productive and a lot of inaccuracies. And so I'm happy to reinstate if you want people to be commenting, but I felt like at the time, just taking a pause was not a bad thing. So, but I'll let you share what you think.
I'm sorry. Is there a way, I'm just thinking of like, God, I hate Facebook. I'm thinking I have to be on it till my kids graduate. It's the only way I can get information on their sports things. Anyway, is there a way kind of like in Facebook where you could, as if you want to contribute to the page that you kind of like some Facebook pages have agreements, like you promise to, make sure your comments are respectful, helpful, whatever. And you've got to kind of like check the boxes. And I don't know, people are going to say what they're going to say, but maybe just to a little bit more, I hate to use the word deterrent, but just a little more, maybe it'll just trigger a little bit more of a forethought before people just randomly like post something. I don't know if that would be helpful or possible, or that I'm just trying to think of a way to bridge the gap, because I want people to be able to express themselves and get information out there, but I also want it to be constructive and helpful, not hurtful or, where there's like name calling or having it be divisive or anything like that. So I see the dilemma, but I don't know, I'm hoping we can find like a workaround or something.
We can't necessarily, you might want to say, we can't.
So we can't delete, and this isn't the first city that I've represented that this very issue's come up, because it's pretty common. So we can't delete anything that anyone posts on our city website, because then we would be choosing speech. So even if someone were to say something that we objectively believe was false, we can't delete it. It's a public record as soon as it's on our page, and we can't censor the speech either. We're actually less able to have like a user agreement than a private moderated page. So when people go to the city's Facebook page, I think they assume that the information they're getting is accurate. We would hope it will be accurate. And I think they're assuming that comments on it would be accurate too, or they would be deleted, but we don't have the ability to do that. And so, it might be like possible to have some other conversation to provide a public square. And I think that happens on other people's Facebook pages. I'm not on Facebook, fortunately, because I hear people write stuff about me, but I don't have to read it anyway.
So,
but I've heard rumors anyway. But it puts us in kind of this quandary. And then the other thing is, we have to keep all this data, and so depending on how long we have to store all this data, and the amount of data we have as compared to like 10 years ago, just because of the size of packets and everything, it's not a small amount of data. And so if it's long kind of Facebook strings, that's kind of adding to that as well. So this is something that, I mean, if you want to open the forum, you can do it, certainly do it. When Melanie told me that she had decided that people were getting confused because they believed that the city was kind of, by not deleting something which we're not allowed to do, it was kind of like an endorsement of that. So the trend is kind of in that this is a place to just for the city to provide information, and kind of the public square will be at this meeting or another meeting. That's kind of how I'm seeing things happening in other places, but that doesn't mean it's the right decision for here, because every place has different vision and values.
And I just wanted like a little records retention. So we have, when we post it, just we're sharing it, it's seen as like a press release. So it has a very short records retention period. However, once there's a conversation, once there's comments, that becomes correspondence, which has like, it's either 7 or 10 years that we have to retain that information as opposed to a press release.
Like taxes.
But we
But
can
whatever
still, we
the-
can still allow the post to be shareable. So,
yeah,
so it can
yeah.
be
Oh,
posted
the
on,
posts are
on
shareable.
community pages and whatnot. We don't have to face that records retention issue. And then that also allows people to have input. It allows people to read or, have posts on other people's, or allow them to post their ideas as well too.
Mhm. Whatever the consensus is, I'm open to.
And again, I'll say
Mhm.
that I understand Peter's point of view there on a legal stance, but I still say there's a lot of times in this council chambers, I've had comments directed at me or people on this council, or things written on social media, and I don't always like them. And a lot of times I don't like them at all. But it is their right to be able to speak. And at the end of all this, no matter what we say, no matter what we come to a conclusion here, it is their right to speak, whether we like it or not. And I think we should give that to them.
I have a question. Peter, does that rule apply for, so like some of these commissions have their own Facebook page now that's operated outside of the city of Estacada? Are those rules still the same?
If it's well, I don't know how they would have a Facebook page that's outside of our,
Yeah,
Yeah.
all of the committees, commissions, that runs through staff. So like the Arts
Sure.
Commission, the DEC, all of those Facebook and Instagram pages still run through the city.
And we archive all those through a
Yes.
service, right?
So there's not a workaround there in the sense that.
I mean, we did leave comments, because you have to do it, each post you make, you have to say comments or no comments if you don't want comments. And so I believe the committees have still just been, you can comment on those, the library, I think you can comment on those. It's just the basic the Facebook page of the city. It was starting to feel like there was an agenda, and this was a platform that could reach a lot of people. And so that's where it was being discussed rather than in like the local group pages. So but we could give it a try again. If I feel it's an issue, I could bring that back to council, and I would try to handle things administratively if they should be administrative versus policy, but this kind of can go up to a policy level.
I'd be for opening up the comment and then just putting some sort of disclaimer on the city website that it's not monitored regularly and shouldn't be used for emergency resource, or that posting something on there doesn't amount to reporting something to the city, just so you don't have that burden of someone scrolling through there. I hope people can just be respectful of the website.
Okay.
And I'm on
Yeah.
agreement
Being
with
a-
this. Is that just a consensus around the table?
Well, I think we should have some measure in there. You said you hope people can be respectful. What if they can't? We need a spot to say that this is nothing that we don't post on Facebook. We post on our city website and something along those lines. I think it's an all or nothing at that point, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And a lot of cities, it's been a topic of discussion on the city manager listserv, and a lot of cities don't allow comments at all. But then a lot of cities do. So it's kind of up to us if we want to give it a try again. When we've allowed comments for however many years that we've had it, and it hasn't been a problem. And so,
I would say either all in on the platform or get off the platform. If you, I mean, the whole idea of Facebook is you post something and people make comments about it. If we don't want comments, and I'd say we should just do those announcements on the city website, would be my opinion.
could we as a council agree that, if we're looking at that page and we're reading those comments and we see something that is wrong, that's an untruth, can we as a council say, hey, this is what it actually is? Would any of you do that?
What do you mean, comment on it?
Yeah, comment. There's a lot of falsities. There's a lot of misinformation that has been put on our city Facebook page in the comment section. I mean, would any of you be willing to? I won't because
Right.
I've been, just like Sean, I've been attacked and, I don't post anything on Facebook anymore.
Mhm.
But I mean, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and if we're putting it out to the, the city staff can't comment, can't say, we've got to put a stop to the misinformation somehow. And if
We
the only
do.
way to stop the misinformation is to cut commenting altogether, because
I don't think cutting comment altogether should be anywhere near this. I think at a point you stop it if it gets out of control as
Or
far as,
we
or you give it a,
we put another post up that
Yeah.
clarifies information, things like that. It's just, yeah, I lost my train of thought now, but yeah.
I think it's important to
Oh, I
also
know.
note that there's a difference between criticisms and confrontation.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
there is then misinformation. I think that failure is feedback, right? And sometimes feedback is uncomfortable, but it's constructive,
yes.
right? And so we might hear some things in these comments that are less than appealing. However, I think it's our job to be able to bear that. I mean, we are in these positions to be able to brunt whatever people say. You have to have thick skin, confrontation.
Mhm.
Frankly, it breeds champion. I mean, that being said, I do think that there's a professional element to this, that there is a line. And I think we give the people an opportunity to cross it.
I was just going to say also, but my head is just spinning for some reason. As far as responding, like if people are putting stuff on that, we can do additional posts, additional information that clarifies things. It's difficult. I would hate for any of you to try to discuss, because sometimes it just becomes confrontational because you're not looking at somebody face to face. You're typing into a computer, and it's really hard to call somebody out when they've, said something that is inaccurate, or they're saying something about a specific person. Definitely people have different opinions, and that's totally understandable and agreeable if people disagree with a city policy or a city program. But I don't think I would recommend anybody replying necessarily. If
it's
just,
not what I was
yeah,
saying,
it
but
becomes
just-
very confrontational. We don't want to be, we don't want to be confrontational.
Question here is, we just had a conversation in a workshop about asking for help, about utilizing our commissions to do stuff and to field things. Is there, Peter, a legal route that could be monitored to where if there was things that draw, say, the council's response or the city's response, that could be brought to us by one of these committees, that they could maybe monitor something like that? Does it have to be us monitoring, or can one of the committees monitor?
I mean, one thing that we could consider would be a Facebook page that simply is the city putting out information, and another Facebook page that would be a community discussion board, with disclaimers that the views expressed on this the views and facts expressed on this aren't, endorsed by the city, or that it's just a platform for people to have a community discussion. Because there are probably people going to the Facebook page just to get information like construction times and something. And it sounds like there are people that are going to the Facebook page to have a community conversation. And so maybe providing two forums and then staff would know, we need to archive this community conversation because it's an active community conversation. Make sure to archive this for the 7 years retention. So it automatically goes in. Whereas this one, which is more just like a press release. And then the people that don't want to have the community conversation can just get their information, and the ones that do want to have the community conversation can have it. That's probably, that might be one way we could do it if that's we're trying to meet that community need of hosting a conversation.
There's quite a few discussion boards out there. How many of you read all the comments on the Facebook page? If people comment there, are they getting that information to the city council? Do you read the comments?
No.
I look
So-
at it all the time. I
So
look at all
it's
Facebook
not-
all the time.
Yeah, so it's not a great way to communicate with the council. It is, if you're saying like a town square or whatever, where they want to communicate with each other. And if the council wants us to provide a town square where people can communicate, although there are private ones out there that people communicate on all the time. But if people are thinking they're going to reach the police or the fire or public works or the city council by discussing something on social media, it's not really the right venue. But
Let's just continue
okay, give
with
it a try.
people being able to express on the city site and see how things go. And then if we need to narrow this down or figure out a different method, but still give them the opportunity to comment and express their feelings, I think we'll hit that at that time.
Okay.
But I think it needs to be more than it really is right now, and I think we should give them back the right. So let's just vote to do that. Is the council in favor of opening it back up and letting people have a discussion?
Sure.
Okay, so we're all on that. Thank you. All right, moving on, we have Shirley Burke. Sorry you've had to wait so long, huh? Oh. It's all good, right? Okay.
Today I was.
Yeah.
Today I was at home and I got a call from Noah Kim, which is his dad owns a business here in town.
Mhm.
And he wants to be able to have a representative from the high school sit in as a chair, like we used to do, a chair on the city council, that they come in and be in the council meetings. They know they probably won't have be able to say anything, but they want representative from the high school to be on the council. I know we did that. We had that once at the Park and Rec, and they didn't stay very long, but they came. And it gives them an idea of what's actually in the council, and they can go back to their fellow students. And he's going to go to college to be a politician, whatever, I don't know. But he wants to be able to come and be on a chair as a guest chair for the city council. And as far, I wasn't going to say anything about the school bond, but the school bond, I agree that we need a new school, but we also need to finish what we started from the last bond, which was the off-street parking for the ball fields. We live up there. We have to put up with this all the time. And when that bond was passed, or however it got in, the fields got put together, that was supposed to be off-street parking, and it's not there. And I mean, it's a pain to get out on 10th. I don't know how many times I've come off 10th to Broadway and almost got hit head on. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I can't say much about the parking. We're getting more and more parking over there.
I know.
I don't. Yeah,
It has been an ongoing discussion between me and school staff.
okay, so you're already dealing with this, I'm sure.
Didn't have anything to do with the prior bond, actually.
Yeah,
But it did have to do with the agreement with the city and the schools for the fields and the roads, and they do need parking. It has been extremely cost prohibitive recently, and I think things are changing. Plus I don't know if the bond would include that, but we've looked at ways to partner with them on it, even more than we have already. So
it looks like you're already looking into.
yes.
Thank you, Shirley, for bringing that forward. Okay, we are at the consent agenda. You've all had a chance to read the consent agenda. Are there any changes that you'd like to see or anything different?
I'd like to speak before I move this along. If anyone was at the workshop, if not, there was, some of us had some concern with a committee member appointment. We were able to sit down, have a discussion, receive his point of view. And, it's come to my attention that he was only made aware of certain situations only a couple of weeks ago. So that's not a lot of time for him. I'm a very gracious person. He seemed humble. And I'm willing to give second chances. So with that said, do you want something to add?
Are you done?
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. Yeah.
I'd like to pull Michael Anderley's application out of the consent agenda for a roll call vote.
Okay, so we'll put that in the council business.
Okay, let's move all of the, so C, committee member appointments, we'll move that down to council business, and then we'll break it up.
Okay. Great. All right, that said, you've had a chance to read it. Is everything else okay with the consent agenda? And can I get a vote?
I do have a question. So the library board, they said that they don't want to recommend Vincent Belomo because his skill set didn't, jive with what they're trying to do. So are we just gonna leave that position vacant then, like they're requesting?
Yeah, it's gonna stay just like they requested in that. So yeah, we'll go with their recommendation.
All right, then I move to I move to.
Is that right?
Yes, that would be correct. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we're moving the committee member appointments all down to the business, council business. So when you go ahead and approve consent agenda, if you're good with the rest of it, and then
We're only moving
Item C.
just Michael Anderley's application from the.
Yeah, that's the only.
That was my understanding.
Okay, however you want, however, what's the best, least confusing?
I
way
mean,
to do it.
what's key is that we all understand what's going on. So if we understand that what we're doing is pulling Michael Enderle's, you can do that. If we want to move the other one, the entire thing down, we could do that. We would have to separately break it down when we move all of it down.
So if we can we just be clear that we, and leave it in the consent agenda? Is that what you're saying?
Or as long as all of us understand exactly what we're doing. So if we're leaving C, but moving the Anderley application down to council business for
Okay.
further
Okay,
discussion,
got it.
as long as everybody understands that what we're doing, because I had heard move all of C and then I had heard move the Anderley.
Yeah, no, just the.
Okay.
is what we're-
All right.
Okay,
Okay, then I move to approve the consent agenda, removing the Michael Anderley application and moving it to council business.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, moving to department and committee reports. I will start off with Mike. Nothing? Heidi? Jonathan?
The traffic and public safety, Matt, the chair was out, so it was a little bit more brief than normal, but essentially Chief Mendoza informed us that we are very, very close to 100% coverage now as of Saturday with our new deputies that have started. And what I mean by that is almost close to 100% 24-hour coverage. We're not quite there, but we have a lot of that gap span now, those additional people. I spoke to the chair, I spoke to Jim, and Paul, you had asked specifically about him presenting to his conversations with the chief, what the chief has updated you with to the council. So I brought that up to him and asked that he address us directly as well. I know that the mayor is additionally meeting with him, but due to what you had asked, the thing. And then there's conversation on polling and stuff. Until there's more clarity on that, you could watch the video on that. It was kind of all over the place on what was going to happen with that. But the main points I took away is that they're looking at getting involved as far as community, what do you call those groups, like
Neighborhood watch.
neighborhood watch. Thank you. Thank you. Neighborhood watch. And then the big one was the police. That's a big concern with everything going on in the community right now. And I thought it was very relieving to hear from the chief that we have close to 24-hour coverage now with these new officers. And then additionally, he said, he responded to me on the transient statistics. And he said that was only at 7 or 8%, which is both good and bad. Good in the sense that we're not experiencing as much transient crime as some of us may have thought, but bad in the sense that we need to deal with some more residential stuff.
Yeah.
People that are here.
Great. And did he mention on the full-time officers, I know we had talked about marking cars with Estacada logos. Is that something you guys discussed or?
They brought that up and it was talked about, it would come at a great cost. It is doable. The chief is going to put together a presentation and he's going to bring it in and formally sit down and give it to the traffic and public safety is what he decided.
Okay.
And I would like to defer until then so that I can give you guys like something more clear.
That's good. All right, thank you. Jerry, nothing? Paul?
Nope.
Jerry?
Parks and Rec met on the 28th and they discussed the splash pad alternative location. They discussed about, I think, 7 alternatives in total that they looked at. And so they're, we're back to Wade Creek. That's what they decided. I think they were more leaning toward over by the beach volleyball area or the sand pit. I don't know. They're gonna swear, they're gonna look at what the engineers have to say. I think Dawn was gonna get back to them on that. Because we're not, engineers anyway. Dawn is in communication with contractors right now to get a breakdown of costs. And he said that the water tap is going to be the most cost, and that's where the sticky spot is. So discuss times a day of operation as far as the splash pad goes. The public works guys they would go in, they would turn it on, and then they would have to come back and turn it off at night. And it was Parks and Rec asked if that was going to be, a burden to them. They said, yeah, no big deal. We're over there anyway, checking garbages and whatever. And so it's just a simple matter of turning on a switch and turning it off again. So it won't be running all the time. Discuss the horseshoe area for a possible dog run. They also wanted to make sure that the park was more ADA accessible for wheelchairs, as there were some issues with the concerts in the park series with some of our members of our community having issues with the wheelchairs. So, something DEI can look at with Parks and Rec. And they've been collabing with the Sandy concerts in the park, and they're going to be moving their concert in the park days. And it looks like they're going to be on I think are better days in the summertime, weekends for us. I think in the past they've been kind of on weeknights. So, and they discussed their budget, which will be coming back to council. And they also went through commission recommendations for review, which is in our packet. That's it.
Great. And I had a discussion with Melanie earlier about maybe having a future meeting, have discussion on food trucks. We had talked about that, maybe discussing how we're handling food trucks and where they're at and their locations. And is there enough framework in place for what we're seeing in food trucks coming in? So I just want to tell you that this will be coming up in a future agenda, and we're going to be discussing this. And then city manager's report.
All right, I think do you want to speak first? I'm going to share, Elena has one thing to share, and I had just 2 quick things.
I have some wastewater updates I just want to give you. So on the 29th, we had a mandatory pre-app for any contracting firms who want to submit the CMGC proposal. So we had 3 firms that showed up. So we will expect to get probably 2. According to the engineer, you're probably going to get 2 out of those 3 who will be submitting a proposal. And then we are, because we switched to the CMGC timeline, that we need to have a little extra time. So our MAO has set marks along the way that we have to meet. So we have to meet like 90% design at like this date, 100% design at this date. And we're asking for a slight change to our MAO with DEQ to allow our contractor, when we get one on board, to have time to do that value engineering and review. So it's not going to change our end timeline. We still have the September of 2026 timeline to have the plant online. It's just one of the middle ones where we're like 100% design. We asked a little extra time for that to give the CMGC contractor a chance to go over those value engineering and the things that we are bringing them on early for.
Okay, and thank you, Elena.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, I wanted to give you a little tree update on our 2 large fir trees in the front yard, because we had been hearing from, it was 2 or 3 arborists that Dawn had talked with, because we had some work done in this closer tree, the deciduous tree, where they put a strap in there to make sure that the branches aren't going to fall down. And so they're doing, I guess it's safety, it's maintenance, some trimming of the trees, but also safety evaluations. And we had received word that 2 or 3 of the folks who had given an initial review of the fir trees were concerned that one of them is looking like it doesn't have as many needles, that I'm just noticing that. But then the other one has a conch, it's called a conch, which can be a common thing, or it can be a problem, a bad disease that causes a problem with the tree where it's not stable. And I think all of those arborists were concerned because if something happened to either of those trees, it would be a bad thing if it fell that way or this way, or if the top came out of it or something. So they were, I think, in an abundance of caution, just saying, you know, you need to look at those trees. But then Don had a person come from OSU Forestry, took a look, and he said, you know, you just don't know yet. And so his recommendation is to give them a little more time, see which way they're going to go. Are they going to recover, or are they going to continue to go downhill? And he didn't feel like we needed to do anything immediately as that would be really drastic. So we're just going to wait it out, keep an eye on them, and get them evaluated on an ongoing basis. And hopefully, I mean, they've been hit pretty hard with that extreme heat day with our, you know, things are drier and hotter for sections of the summer. And then we've had the ice. We did the yard where we probably messed around with some of their roots when we were putting in the sprinkler, putting in the new yard. And then on the other side, they've got the sidewalk and the asphalt. And so they're not in a real ideal, healthy location. But we're going to let it ride for a little while and just keep an eye on them to monitor, and hopefully they'll improve. So that's good news, I think.
That's good news. Yeah. I asked that your first three that Don talked to, were they licensed arborists or tree removal?
Yes, yeah. Well, I think they do both. I know one of them was Hereford. But nobody's was able to really come and speak about it. They just were able to kind of give an informal recommendation to us. So, and I can't remember who the other ones were.
I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can find out though. I'll find out who the other arbor. I'm sure the ones that were doing the like repairing this tree here, that was an arborist situation. They were the one that mentioned it first. But I will find out who they were and just share that. And then secondly, really quickly, I wanted to check with you to see if you want us to schedule a town hall in May. I am not thinking about May yet, but Elena reminded me she's getting ready to send out the newsletter, which only goes quarterly. And so if we don't have to pick a time right now, but it would be helpful to know, you know, would you like a Monday night? Would you like to do a weekend? Do you want to do another town hall in potentially in May? We could just do like a save the date or save the, you know, keep your eyes out for town hall coming up in May. If that's a good month for you, then we could talk further about when, you know, a specific date, or if you want to, do you want to wait till later in the summer? Just kind of wanted to get some feedback.
Council.
I'm up for May.
May as well.
As long as it's not Memorial Day weekend, we
Okay.
leave
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're always out of town, out of state, actually. So.
Okay, and I think schools have May break,
Preferably a Monday.
preferably a Monday, because then you have that day off, right?
So the DEI meets on Monday,
Mhm.
and so time would have to be coordinated if we do it that same first Monday.
Right, so maybe the third Monday. That, I don't know what that date is.
The
It-
20th.
The 20th.
And I said preferably a Monday. It doesn't have to be locked in on. a
Okay.
Monday.
Well, we can look at that, but if we know, is that kind of enough information to just know, watch in May for a town hall? And then we
Do a
can,
doodle pool maybe with some dates, and then we can
Yeah.
see what works and.
yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'd be
Okay.
nice to get an RSVP out ahead of time if there's a way to get a post on there where people can respond that they're coming to it.
Oh, yeah,
So
make
we
an
can be Prepared
event.
with an adequate space. We
Mhm.
kind of had flip flop. We were in the middle school and it was a big space with not a lot of people there. And then we had a community led one that was a smaller space with a whole bunch of people there. So it'd be kind of a good idea to know what to be prepared
Yeah.
for with, if we could find a way to get some response from the community.
We could do that. Okay. Any other suggestions on that? All right, we'll start getting the word out and we'll pick a date with you and yeah. All right, thank you. That's all I have tonight.
Okay, we are now at council business. And we have the Wade Creek Community Room Rental Update.
Okay, my computer just died. I did not think the meeting would go this long. But it's in your packet, and last May, the council chose to allow the community room at Wade Creek, at the new part of Wade Creek, to be used free of charge two people in 97023, 97022. So in basically our school district area, they could use that room for free for their private events. There's also many public events that take place there that everybody's welcome at. And so we just wanted to circle back with you. We put the information that we've been collecting and about what like the monthly expenses are, which is about conservatively $770 a month. That doesn't take into consideration the staff time, but they answer phone calls, they help people, get it reserved, and they provide all the information. And so it's pretty basic. It's pretty easy, simple room to use. And so we do have a monthly expense. We're going to have ongoing some maintenance, but I just wanted to throw it back to you and say, I put some options in there for how we could charge potentially for private events to do kind of a cost recovery. I don't think we'll anticipate that. We could rent it enough maybe that it would pay the full cost, but I just would like to hear your discussion and recommendation on because we're getting ready for budget, and would you like us to?
Well, I don't think the intent for creating the community room was to ever have a money-making opportunity. I think it was to have a space for the community to use. You've got three options here. Option 1, private use, option 2, private use, and then option 3 for nonprofit use. The first option is the lowest cost one, 2 hours for $25 versus option 2, 2 hours for $50. I would go for option 1, the lower amount, just something nominal. It seems to me that folks would have, I think what we discussed in the past was some sort of skin in the game to do it with, and the nonprofit seems fine at 2 hours for $10 as well too. I think your estimation is that we would recoup maybe $550 if it's rented out 10 times per month. And I think in the past year, we've had 1 month that's happened. Other months have been about 4 to 5.
Yeah, and I think that as more people learn about it, probably the rentals or the usage could go up. Yeah, and then I think with the nonprofits, my goal there was, as I was putting that together, was to make it relatively easy for them to have a meeting there for a couple hours. But if they're going to have an event, then they could chip in a little more along the way. So that sounds good. Any other comments?
I'm good with the option 1, private use. With the cost going up everywhere else, I'd like to keep it for private use with option 1, make it as affordable for folks as possible. And I'm good with the nonprofit. And I know we discussed on the phone if there were nonprofits or maybe even private parties who wanted to use the space on a regular basis, to maybe look at that and what would that look like? And I know we don't have that up here tonight, but I'm just kind of putting that out there into
that would be
ether for ideas and whatnot.
That would be good direction, because this first year we haven't been allowing people to schedule like an ongoing meeting, like we meet every other Thursday. Or we meet. And so but with this, like you said, with some skin in the game, where we know that it's just nice to have some contribution that they can assist with. I think we could probably figure out how to find that balance between it not getting all used up by ongoing meetings, but yet allowing that to happen. So yeah.
It was paid for by city residents, correct?
It was paid for by developers with SDCs, and then city and general fund. Yep, general fund. A smaller amount of grants than we thought. So yeah,
I like the idea of going with a lower cost fee base, but anyone that lives within the city limits, it's already contributed to it. It's part of the tax base for the city. I think they should be able to use it free of charge and just do the deposit. That's my opinion.
Okay.
And then mine is the lower cost item. I'm with that.
Okay.
I'm not into the ongoing use for that building for one group, only because then it narrows down the opportunity for people to use it that haven't been in there before. I think, the library has so many other rooms that they could use on a regular basis if they're going to have a continuous meeting, that leaving it open for everybody to use is more of a direction I'd like to go into that in that particular building.
Or maybe we could try with try it for a little bit, do it for like Monday through Thursday if they have a meeting, because those are our lower use days. And see if it goes or
No,
not, but
and-
definitely not.
And
tie
maybe
it
take a
up.
look at how many people call in to use it and it's occupied
Mm.
with an ongoing.
Yeah, I could look at that.
So
yeah.
we want to make sure that everybody has that opportunity to
Okay.
use that building because that's what it was there for.
Yeah, I like what Councilman McElroy said about, the taxpaying base, let them use it. I'd also like to add that, we should look at allowing the school to use it for free as well. I mean, with all the sports things we have with kids and stuff like that, sometimes it can be hard to coordinate, like post-season little get-togethers where the kids get to
The
celebrate how they
banquets.
did this year and stuff. I know for our football team, we used it because both the pizza places in town were just slammed and there was no availability. It was actually a huge resource. That's the first time I ever went there. So.
And that's kind of what I was thinking. I was thinking more along the lines of, because I, have kids and so involved in sports and things like that. It was more like, okay, there's use for the school district because they're lacking so much space, but maybe I should have been more specific with that, but
Okay. I think we're all on the same page, a nominal fee
Okay.
going forward and
Can we clarify that
Yeah.
though? Because Counselor McElroy was suggesting residents have no fee, just a deposit
Correct.
versus what option one here was $25 for the first 2 hours. So, but what I'm hearing, residents, no fee as well too. What's the rest of the consensus? And and that would be residents,
Would you, okay. If you
I would think.
I guess, or we could do like school and fire as our agency partners.
Because the general fund's paying for the upkeep, right?
Right.
And then the city residents are contributing to the general
To the
fund,
general
correct?
fund, right.
So that's the ongoing maintenance fee that they would be paying by paying their taxes.
Right.
They're contributing to the maintenance of it already. They shouldn't get double hit. The school district isn't necessarily like outside the city limits. They're not making any contributions to the general fund that's doing the maintenance, right? That's my thinking behind it.
So you're saying, what I've got is like, will you go with number one for the fee structure for anybody that's not inside city limits?
Correct.
And then, if it's a nonprofit, if it's a local nonprofit, like a 501c, then they would use the nonprofit one. And probably no ongoing meetings that would tie
I
it
would
up. I mean,
prefer, I would prefer not the ongoing because I think what that's gonna do is notch out certain times that people might want to use it.
mhm.
And they're not gonna be able to. So
Mhm.
it just seems with all the rooms they have in the library that they can use for an ongoing
Mhm.
meeting, it just seems a little.
Yeah, they don't, the library gets full too, so.
Or
but yeah, we could
even narrowing the
manage
window
that.
for off-peak hours openings
Yeah, you
for,
could do
for,
that. Oh, yeah.
for a recurring meeting, but not on every Friday afternoon.
No,
6 to
yeah,
8
no.
or
Yeah.
on the weekends, like
Right,
maybe
for
like
sure.
whenever it's getting the least amount of use, open that up for a certain period of
Okay.
time for regular meetings would be a good solution, I think, for
Yeah.
that,
That
but not
work.
during,
Yeah.
you get somebody that blocks out the next 2 years on
Oh, yeah,
Fridays
no.
from 6 to 8.
Okay,
Fair enough.
so no cost if somebody's in city limits, but then otherwise, if they're not in city limits, we'd use number one. Number three for nonprofits, but for partners like the school district, potentially fire district, I don't know if they would ever use it, but then we could do we could comp that. Resident. I mean, I will say that they let us use the auditorium and their tech staff. And that's just one example of the great partners that the school district has been to us. So, yeah, okay.
And more specifically, typically it affects the actual kids that are going there as well. So it's
Mhm.
community based. It's not necessarily that the school itself benefits from it either.
Right. Okay, got it.
You
Thank
bet.
you for that.
You bet. Thank
We
you.
will put together a budget based on that.
Okay, we are now at the citizen and community group comp. Second.
Michael.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Michael Anderley. Sorry, I didn't have him on my list. But yeah, Michael Anderley, and that's the discussion we're having right now.
I'll let you,
I'll put the motion on the floor and then we can discuss. I move to approve Michael Anderley as his appointment to the Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Committee.
Okay, and we need to get a second on that before discussion, right?
right,
Okay, have a second on that.
Second.
Okay, first and second.
Discussion.
We went into a long discussion earlier. It was a public meeting. I just wanted to give everyone the opportunity to decide whether they wanted, if they thought that Michael Enderle presents a welcoming and inclusive public his post on Facebook were really offensive to me. And I don't think that anyone that would have seen that would have felt very welcoming coming into the DEI to share their point of view. And so for that reason, I think we should just vote on him particularly.
Sure.
So, speaking on a personal level, I too was, I did find them offensive, and it's kind of hard when you're working with a committee and commission and you have rights to free speech and things like that. But when you're looking at something like diversity, equity, inclusion, unfortunately, you need to be a little bit above and beyond reproach, especially in your Facebook posts that have like not a lot of context. So if somebody were to go on and then they see, but they don't know the full scope of what this person's dealing with, they, you know, you're forming an opinion, right? And so he did have the opportunity to, we were able to talk to him directly, which I mean, honestly, not a lot of people get that opportunity. I will say he did own up to it. And he was open to change. And you know, it's hard. It'd be really easy for me to sit here and say, I don't want him on the committee because he doesn't, because he shows a bias against, certain religious groups and certain, you know, but then I start thinking, okay, about my faith and how would, if somebody, again, this is all very personal, so that I'm not speaking for the council, but if I were to go to Jesus and say, I'm sorry I did this, I'm willing to change, then he is going to say, you know what, it's all forgiven, it's done, let's move forward. So that's the approach I would like to take on this. He was willing to own up to it. He is willing to make those changes and to have more sensitivity. So I am, and I'm going out on a limb, I'm willing to give him a second chance because I think that, I mean, I would like a second chance and I think we all make mistakes but this is just my own personal opinion and kind of what I've been struggling with for the past hour, so.
All right. Any other comments on it?
And just for clarification, was this his personal Facebook page or was this a post he made on a city?
This was a personal Facebook page, but it's when you're, and again, and I told him this in the meeting, if I don't have an issue, if it's like for the Arts Commission or for a library or whatever, and I'm all for free speech. And I told him this as well, like I will die on that hill. I want people to have their right to free speech and everything. But when you're looking at the charter of what diversity, equity, and inclusion states, and it states that you need to like come to the table without a bias, then, you know, his personal Facebook page didn't reflect that. So if somebody in the community were to look at that, they would go, well, wait a minute, like I'm, you know, of a Judeo-Christian faith and this guy seems very hateful toward that. So how is that inclusive? So that's kind of what I struggled with. And it's hard because with DEI, it's a different type of committee where you're governing people's morals and ethics. And that's what's really hard and makes DEI sort of like nebulous to me. So given that, I kind of have to go into that sort of like realm of ethics and faith and what it's hard because I can't just look at, you know, do you get what I'm saying? I'm rambling at this point, but
No, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. Jonathan.
I'm all about forgiveness, but I think Peter Peter described it really well when he clarified that what the scope is and how we should base our decisions. And although I do appreciate accountability, what I also heard was deflection in comparison to behavioral and personal preference. So to me, that would mean that there's a significant chance that we'll be faced with this again when it comes to something that say maybe makes them tick, right? And I agree with you on free speech entirely. However, I think that if one of us was to go after somebody in comments or in private messages and it was sent to us, I think we would be up here and have to be held accountable in front of these same people in the exact same manner. I think if I would expect, as somebody that represents this community, and this is again, just my preference, that if I went after anybody in this room, whether it's in private or not, if I put myself out there and my opinions out there about them, and especially in an aggressive manner, I'm a big charismatic person, trust me, I understand this, but that I would have to answer for what is said. And I think as we're establishing communication and as we're building out this committee, and we're going to be working with them, I think, to me, that I want the best representation of this community, and nothing personal to him. I appreciated his apology. I appreciated his candor, and I've always dealt with him respectfully in conversation. But that being said, I want people that are going to answer for this community to be in the utmost position, and whether they're in front of me or not, or in front of these guys in a microphone or not, I believe that there's a line.
Jerry.
So I know I said it earlier, but he, looking at the members of the DEIC, he's the person on that committee that mostly represents me. I understand that he, what he did was wrong. I also understand that, it wasn't brought to his attention until just a short time ago. And he came before us, humbled himself, apologized, said that he would change his ways. But like I said, I'm a member of this community, and I want representation in that committee also. And he's the one that most represents me.
I didn't hear that it was a couple weeks ago. We spoke with the head of that committee months ago and asked her to present that, to address it with him, and his behavior
I
didn't
don't
change
know
since then.
what the timeline was. I
Well,
said a short
Tammy's
time
here.
ago.
We could
I just
probably
said a
ask her.
short time ago.
I asked him,
Yeah.
but in the break when he had the discussion, he said a couple weeks ago.
So after our meeting, somebody waited a month and a half to have the conversation with him.
Hey.
I'm with Counselor Hughes and Ten Bush. I am agreeing to take another chance.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to everyone that's approving him. Maybe it'll help with his accountability, knowing that you guys are going to support him. But just know that the actions that come after that are what you're endorsing.
Can we put in a caveat or something like that? I know this doesn't go with the motion on the floor now, but something that would say if there was some action that needed to be addressed in the future, he's on there's no opportunity for
Isn't it
that.
already in our code of conduct?
You do have a code of conduct, and you also, the council has the authority to appoint and to remove.
Okay.
When you want to.
Hey. Well, that leaves it down to me. I felt his apology was heartfelt. I feel like he understands the issue in front of him right now. And one key caveat here that nobody seems to look at is he had a learning experience. How can he go forward now? Don't you think he's going to be better for learning that he maybe was the same problem he's going to end up having to fix later on? I'm kind of one of those people that if you go through the experience yourself and you learn from it, you're better for it. And if I said no to everybody who ever said something to me or messed up or made a mistake, then what kind of man am I? So at this point, forgiveness is the first thing we should be looking at. Understanding, he understands it now. He's given us 2 weeks ago, he got it. I felt that he understood where we were coming from. I felt it sincere. I saw the comment he made. I was offended by it first. I brought it to Melanie's attention, but I thought that maybe, he should calm down with this. But I wouldn't be the man I am if I just said, throw him out. Because I think he probably learned something from this. And I think going forward, he's going to be better for it. So I would have to say I'm in favor of keeping him on there. But we can run a vote on this.
So the motion was to approve Michael Anderson on the committee. Okay.
I will go on a limb and I will be watching carefully, but yes.
No.
No.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay. Moving right along, we are now at citizen and community group comment. I have none in front of me unless somebody has one out there they would like to turn in before we move past this point. I'm not seeing a lot of hands going up, so we are now going to go into executive session. So I will read from that.
We're gonna do our parting.
Oh, yeah, our
Comments.
reports and.
Yeah, that'd be good. Let's do that. We'll start off with Jonathan down in far in there.
There's been a lot said tonight. I just want to thank everybody for coming out. I do appreciate everybody that's here and everybody's comments and concerns. I actually enjoy conflict a little bit in some of these conversations, to be honest with you. I think it's good for you. I think it develops everybody's communication skills. I think it's a good temperature check to see where people are at, what they stand, with their candor, with their backbone. They're people of their word that represent the community the way that they said they would when they took this position. I think that there's a lot there. And I just want to thank everybody for maintaining respect, for communicating straight, for being under the fire. Tammy, I want to publicly say I don't have a personal problem with you. I know you might have felt under attack, but that was not my intent. But I'm going to ask those hard, direct questions because ultimately at the end of the day, we have people to answer to, and that's you guys sitting out there. And so I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to go after the hard questions. I'm going to be sometimes the one that takes the arrows, like I feel like tonight was. For other people, I just pray that you would take a look and assess who's willing to keep their word to you and who's not. Election season's coming up.
Great.
So, you know, a lot's been said here tonight between the workshop and the council meeting. We've had some great discussions, but you know, for something said earlier, you know, don't speak to an issue if you haven't, you know, it was something to the extent of, you know, you haven't experienced it yourself. I can honestly say that a couple of us up here have been put in Mike Anderley's shoes. We were in those exact, you know, we were in those exact shoes, and knowing what I learned from it, and you know where the direction I chose to take, you know, coming out of that, you know, I honestly believe that Mike Anderley is going to take this in the right direction, and he's going to be a better committee member because of it. Because I know that me going through that experience made me a better person, in my opinion, and I feel like I've been better for the community because of it. I can't speak for the other person, but I honestly believe that their experience made them better for it. So I really appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I really appreciate the comments today. Know that we're taking it all to heart. I am really looking forward to seeing this school bond pass. I think it's something that's been overdue and necessary for this community, and it's going to be an amazing thing moving forward. And thank you, city staff, as always.
Paul?
I want to thank everyone for a great conversation as well too with the workshop and then council business tonight. And then I also want to just thank Tanya, Tom, Jim, and Shirley for speaking tonight. That's how things get done, coming in, talking to us, speaking up, and making your voice heard. Just appreciate hearing you guys tonight. Thank you.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't have anything prepared, and honestly, the evening did not go the way like I honestly anticipated it would go. But it I'm like, how do I wrap this up? I thank everybody for coming. I mean, I don't want to get too deep. I don't want to get too deep into my faith and things like that. That's for me personally, but if somebody wants to talk to me privately as to how I came to my conclusions, I'm open for discussion on that. But I want to thank people for coming out tonight and Tanya too, bringing more awareness. And I think I also, just quick before I forget, I think I also pointed you in the direction of Mr. Jim Moriarty as well, since he's traffic and public safety. You guys could really collab and get some work done there. And yeah, I just thank everybody for coming out and good discussion tonight. Like I really do. I know, like Jonathan, you're like, this is good stuff. Man, I hate confrontation. I just like, I know it's good for me, but oh my gosh, I'd like to come to a council meeting where my stupid watch on my wrist is not saying your blood pressure's increasing. And you know, if I could just have like a good heart rate for a good 2 hours, that would be awesome. So anyway, I appreciate you all. I respect you all. And yeah, thank you for a good discussion tonight.
All right.
Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, council members, for the open conversation. It really didn't go as I thought it would, and I'm very impressed at how we can all come together. You can register to vote by April 21st. That would be good for the school bond, that's for sure. There's a couple bills that are on the governor's desk that involve urban growth boundary. And I'll admit I haven't delved into it too much, but it may or may not allow for an expansion. So I would recommend you read into it. It's Senate Bill 1537 and 1530. And you can lobby the governor. She has not signed it yet, if you feel inclined.
I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Appreciate all the people that came to share from the school district, and give a special thanks out to the PAC that's working on the school bond. My kids are in 8th grade now, so they probably won't see the fruit of it, but I'll be voting yes for the bond and pay the extra money happily. Just appreciate all the people from the community that are involved in that PAC. I'm sure you guys aren't getting paid for that work and just spending the time to put out the word. And me and my eighth graders are available for handing out door flyers, and any way we can help. I'll catch up with you, Mr. Austin, afterwards and see what we can do to get involved. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Well, you've had a good night, a lot of discussion, a lot of people talking. Jonathan down the far end there thinks that we ought to be hard nosed in this one. I'll tell you something, I've been here a long time, and I say this every time, I know. But compassion and understanding the people has been my job for many, many years. And I will not be anybody different for any reason than that. So I appreciate you tonight, but that's all the defending I'm going to do to my reasoning. So have a nice evening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
We got a minute?
Yeah, take a Nobody there? Okay. All right, we'll go out now of executive and back into city council. And can I have a motion on the floor for the step increase for the city manager position?
I move to approve a step increase for the city manager position.
Second.
Okay, I have first and second. All those in favor, let's just do roll call so everybody knows.
Counselor Hughes?
Yes.
Counselor Elroy?
Yes.
Counselor Metcalf?
Yes.
Counselor Prokop?
Yes.
Counselor Strobel?
Yes.
Counselor Kenbush?
A very emphatic yes.
Mayor Greenblatt?
Yes.
It passes.
Okay, thank
All right,
you in that.
everybody, and
And we will now close the city council meeting.
that was a long meeting.
So-
Again, I thought it would